Welcome back. Remember, your system is always being deconditioned and reconditioned, whether you want that to be happening or not. It's just a natural process of our nervous system. Because of that, all food and circumstances related to food have conditioning associated with them, and food brings an endless amount of de and reconditioning opportunities along with it. Stop and think for a moment about how much of your life unfolds while you're eating, or even just craving something to eat. It's a huge amount of it. We often eat with other people in our private life and at work, so a great deal of our personal and professional social lives happen during eating, but it goes way beyond that. If you just pause and think about how many different things have happened in just the past week while you've been eating, or thinking of eating, or just after eating when your body is still focused on digesting your food, sending you full signals, and so on, you'll begin to realize the extent of this. All of this is useful for deconditioning and reconditioning because it means that food and eating are paired with a great deal of the conditioning of your life. It's similar to how a song playing in the background while something is happening can get linked to memories of a specific incident, become imbued with a certain emotional tone for you, and so on. Up until now, we've basically thought a lot about how to use conditioning and syncing in for weight loss. But the reality is that the general conditioning that has occurred around food offers you even more potential. It offers you access to a vast amount of your psychological programming, and you can use that to rapidly change your quality of life. For example, let's say that you're eating with your family. You've done a good job of making sure that you were physiologically hungry prior to eating. You've just started, are monitoring yourself for when you feel full, and are basically just doing a great job with everything that we've covered in the first part of the program. As you track how you're feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically while you eat, you notice a bit of sadness in your system. This doesn't make any sense to you. The conversation seems light and happy. Maybe one of your kids is reporting good news at school. You're having a great day with your spouse, and so on. It's likely that this sadness relates to other conditioning in your system. Normally, you would probably never notice it, or you would dismiss and ignore it right away. A better option, now that you're a finder, is to make use of things like this when they pop up, and to sink in as best you can while also keeping your awareness on the conditioning that's arising. In short, to dissolve the conditioning while it's up, even though it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your eating habits, cravings, or so on. Something about the present situation was close enough to something from your past that it provided a doorway into conditioning that you might not have access to otherwise. It's best to clear out as much of this stuff as you can rather than dismissing or ignoring it. Why let it continue to sit down there in your system, affecting your experience of life if you don't have to? And as a finder, you don't have to. You have a superpower that others don't have. You can sink into fundamental well-being and dissolve conditioning. Again, you don't need to know anything about the conditioning to do that. You don't have to remember a specific incident from your past or analyze it or anything like that. You just have to put your awareness on it and sink into fundamental well-being. And just as was mentioned previously, if it's not a good time to do that, you might also be able to remember this moment and call the conditioning back up in your imagination to be worked on at a later time. Sometimes these will be feelings in your body. Other times they might be emotional, like our example here. They can also be triggered and undesirable thoughts. Normally, thoughts will lead to feelings, and sometimes feelings can lead to thoughts. Sensations in your body, when focused on, can also lead to either or both feelings or thoughts. Whatever is arising, a thought, feeling, sensation, or some combination of these, you don't need to analyze any of them. Just put your awareness on the conditioning and sink in. If you can train yourself to do this for conditioning that comes up before, during, and after meals, you'll be miles ahead in the process of reconditioning your system to maximally thrive as a finder, because food and food-related situations have gotten unintentionally entangled with so much of your life. They are among the very best things to focus on for de- and reconditioning work like this. Okay. That's it for this section of the program. Now you just have to get to it. There's no need to stress yourself out about this. It's one of those things that you can do in every moment around food and eating, which you might think is kind of stressful, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to constantly do this? But certainly that's not practical for most people. In practice, you can de- and recondition around eating as little or as much as you want, or make sense in this moment for you. As you do, like everything else, it will increasingly become a habit and something that practically just happens on its own and isn't something you even need to think about. That's ideal because you get all of the benefits while just going about your day. I'll see you next time.